If you are watching this channel for the first time, please we advise you click on the share button, click on the red subscribe button, and on the notification button, so that when we have a new episode coming out, directly it will be shared to you. You will have the link and be notified of this edition, because they keep on coming and it will interest you. It will move you to another level. Welcome viewers and listeners to the Daily Positive Living channel with Dr. Daniel Otto. Today is another interesting episode, which is going to be a continuation of the last episode, because we are still dealing with factors and conditions and situations that affect our relationship, because we know that the world survives from relationship. Everything in this world is by connection, and so we feel so passionate to talk about this connection. We have established the fact that the connection is actually very, very important, and so we cannot overemphasize the importance of this connection in our relationship on earth. And so this is actually very important. Connection or connectivity is synonymous to communication. Once there is no connection, once there is no communication, you can see that people will be abandoned. There is no life without communication. And so when we talk about it and maintain relationship, the world will be a better place to live. Can you imagine if a pilot takes off with an aircraft and is not connected to the control tower? You can imagine what that will be. It will be a total disaster. If the pilot is not connected to the control tower, where all the instructions, the advice is given for the aeroplane to land, to take off and land, it will be a disaster. Or the pilot or the aircraft is not within the radar system, it is a serious matter. That is how dangerous, how disastrous it is when we are talking about connection, and how important we need to deal with this area of connection and relationship. Let me give you a personal experience I had one time for you to know that this thing is very important. One day I boarded a plane just from Abuja to Benin, Edo State. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. And 5 minutes into the journey, we were encountered with heavy storm, and it was a serious matter. The aircraft started going up and down, The pilot was losing connection completely, and it was very evident that we are heading on to a disaster. The next thing I heard was terrible cry from everybody in the plane. This thing I'm saying is not a funny thing. It was a serious matter. I see men, tears were coming out of the eyes of men, literally. Women were crying. Oh my God. I say, what is it? The journey of like 40 minutes to 1 hour became a journey of like 1 month, as if we're not going to. Everybody were crying in the plane. What interests me so much again was that I heard people saying their last prayers. People were making confession. One man said, that thing that got missing, I was the one that stole it. To God forgive me before I enter into hell. A woman was saying, I know I cheated on my husband last 2-3 weeks. It was because of him that I cheated. God, please forgive me my sin. Literal cry, God forgive me before I enter hell. I don't want to go to hell. It was a serious thing. That is how important connection is. One thing I learned from this experience was that when all chips are down, all this bragging does not really matter, because you can see everything in the plane will become very useless. People started making their last prayers. I now learned that when you were born in this world, you didn't need the cooperation of God to bring you. God does not need your cooperation at all to bring you into this world, and he will not need your cooperation before you die. So at any point in time, death is available, and so connection is very key. What lesson did I learn again? That at any point in time, your conscience between you and God must be free at all point. There must be a connection between you and God, free of impurities, free of death and sin at all times. If not, it is disastrous. That is how important connection is, to bring it home. What are the factors and conditions that affect our connectivity, affect our relationship, affect marriages, and interplay between human beings as we are on earth? One of those conditions, in addition to what we have discussed on the last episode, is lack of understanding. Lack of understanding and friendliness is a major factor that can affect our relationship. One day a teacher was teaching in the class and he asked the question, what is understanding? Many people gave reasons from here and there, but one boy just stood up and said the meaning of understanding is the under of a stand. What does that mean? Once you know the under or the stand, the under of what the person is standing on, it means you have understood. Many people marry for various reasons. There are so many reasons why people marry. Some marry for just pity. Some marry because their age is telling on them, and so anybody that comes around them, they don't need to select anymore. They don't need to do any test. Anyone goes. Some people marry for financial reasons because either one of them is so rich, so they marry. So there are various reasons why people marry. But out of those reasons, when all chips are down, people begin to play on those reasons. When those reasons are not met, marriages, divorces, and others begin to come into play. What are we talking about? Various reasons. There should be a genuine reason without ulterior motive and real love why people enter into relationship, why people should connect to each other. Once there is an ulterior motive, once there is a reason, a different reason that is not genuine, that thing is no longer pure. So these are the things we need to talk about. What of infidelity? Infidelity is one of the greatest reasons why marriages does not really stay. This is very, very key. And what is infidelity? Infidelity is an act of any sexual or emotional act that between married people from one spouse or the other. But in this episode, I'd like to bring out the difference between adultery and infidelity. They are not the same. In adultery, it involves sexual act between two married people, between a spouse, a person that is not your spouse. But in infidelity, it also involves emotional, it involves sexual, it also involves things that may not be involved with sex. That is what it means. In other words, infidelity is a broader section. Adultery is a subsection of infidelity. Once you are involved in emotional affair, in any way of compromise in a relationship, be it emotional, be it sexual, be it a compromise, or in any form. Can you see some people, they feel emotionally attached, even their co-workers when they go to work. So there are various reasons that causes infidelity. But adultery is more of a sexual thing, while infidelity is a broader section. These things must be understood. And what are the things that predispose to infidelity? They are so plenty. The internet is there. Some people are addicted to porn. Some alcohol can predispose one or makes one more vulnerable to infidelity. You know, people take to other people because of one reason or the other. So there are so many reasons that cause infidelity. These are the things that we need to deal with if we want to come out with a healthy relationship. What of lack of flexibility? That is another major key. When things are not flexible, people, marriages, relationships are not supposed to be a stereotype thing. It's supposed to be flexible. Men are made for adventures, varieties, finding adventures, bringing new things that can spice up relationship. But once it becomes stereotype, becomes rigid, people becomes bored in relationship. Once some couples are used to only one style, especially when you are talking about sex, only one style of sex, missionary style, and everything, there is no spicing, there is no adventures, there is no new things coming. Relationship become bored, and what do you see? Before you know it, things begin to go out of hand, and the connection will no longer be maintained. These are the things we need to deal with if we are talking about connection, if we are talking about maintaining a good relationship. Let me give you this story as I want to round up this session. One day, a professor of psychology came to the class and asked his student, He said, why do two people shout on each other when they are angry? One student got up and said because they have lost their calmness. So because of that, they can talk. So they can shout on each other. Yeah. Another one stood up and said because of their personality, temperament, high temperament, that was why they now begin to shout on each other the day they get angry. And the professor was not satisfied. And he now answered. He said, do you know why people shout on each other when they are angry with each other? Say, look, the moment they are angry, even though they are close together, the moment people are angry with each other, there is a distance that is being established. There is a distance, a psychological distance that is established in between the hearts, the two hearts. So the distance between the hearts are too far. So to be able to succumb that distance, people need to shout so that the person can hear, even though they are very close. That is why anytime people are shouting on each other when they are angry, the heart-to-heart connection is very, very far. The psychological distance is far. So people need to shout to be able to succumb or overcome that distance. So the more angrier the person becomes, they have to shout the more. You have to shout more to be able to overcome that. That is what happens. And why, and the professor further asks again, why do people talk softly when they fall in love with each other? And he said, people talk softly when they are in love with each other because the heart is closed. There is no psychological distance in between the two people. And then he said, okay, why do they need to go further to whisper? Once the love becomes stronger, they go to the level of whispering to each other. And once the love even go further, becomes stronger, they leave the level of whispering to the level of even eye contact. When two people are connected, once they look at their eyes, they look at each other's eyes, they know what is happening. They graduate from even verbal communication to non-verbal communication. They can decide and decode by movement what each other likes. That is what we are talking about in connection, relationship, and the rest. If we want a relationship to be good, to have a better future, to have a better society, so that our children will have an enabling environment to be brought up, we need to deal with these issues so that we can come out well. That is why I want you to follow me on this channel. Subscribe to it. Please share it to others so they can benefit. Because on this channel, there is always something to learn on each episode. And I can tell you, your life will not remain the same again. Thank you very much for listening to me. And stay tuned for the next edition. God bless you.